What is up, lawyers, toyers, and project destroyers? Thanks for sitting down at the messy desk with me this week. Today, I want to talk to you about pain and regret. And listen, before you go running away because you have enough of that in your personal life, stay right here. Don't worry. We're still talking about this rectangle. We're still talking about music. We're just talking about the way that the Octatrack has a tendency to be a little brutal, a little unforgiving, a little mean to its users. I think the Octatrack has a reputation that sort of precedes itself, that it's an uncaring device, that it hates you, that it will kill your family and bury them in an unmarked grave. It is a destroyer of worlds, and you must bow down to it, for it holdeth the power of the universe. And look, I think some of that's exaggerated, but I think some of that is pretty well founded. The Octatrack, because of the way that it kind of operates and its mechanisms, is not very friendly, and it will destroy your projects with a click of a button without warning in a lot of instances. So I wanted today to talk about the two most common ways that it'll do that, so that ideally you can avoid that happening to you. It's happened to me. It's happened to the rest of us countless numbers of times. Maybe you fresh Green Guild Octatrack user, will watch this video, internalize these things in a way that I just seem to not be able to, and go forth and not make these same silly errors that we have been making for years. And now this idea actually was given to me by a lovely Octachild, a lovely viewer, and you wouldn't believe this, but it was given to me by Nathan Lane. Yes, the Nathan Lane. We got a picture here, we got a picture here. Dude, I loved you in The Lion King. I wish you were in more stuff. Loved your work. Didn't know you were an Octatrack user, but I'm super glad that you're tuning into the Messy Desk and giving me suggestions. If I had a suggestion for you, it'd be to give me all your money. Give me your money, Nathan Lane. I have a family. You have a family, Nathan Lane? I mean, probably, but they're fine. Give me that Lion King money, you bitch. Sorry, Nathan, I don't know what came over me, but thank you for giving me this video idea, because I think it's a great one. You will be enshrined forever in YouTube immortality. I know you needed that after your Hollywood career ended the way it did. I actually know nothing about Nathan Lane's career. If it's still going, pop off down in the comments and let me know, I guess. So let's just get into it. Number one is the most common thing I think that people will warn you about with the Octatrack, but if you don't know it going in and you just bought this on a whim, you might not know, and it sucks. And that is forgetting to save your recording buffers. Now, sampling on the Octatrack is one of the most rewarding and fun things you can do, I think. But if you don't know how to do it, it's a little miserable getting it set up at first. And if you're wondering how to do that, I actually have a video on it. It's right there. So go watch that if you need to learn how to sample. But for now, stay right here because this is important. And I love you, and I need you to watch this one for the algorithm. Just please spare 10 minutes, and then you can go watch that one. It's 35 minutes. It's a lot longer, a little thinner in it, but you'll see. So once you have learned to sample, you're going to want to sample a lot, and it's really fun to sample. And one of the nice things that the Octatrack does is when you sample something, you can immediately start sequencing it and having a great time with it. Downside to that, however, is that you forget to save your sample sometimes. And you might think, oh, no big deal. I turned off my Octatrack. I forgot to save my sample. It'll just be in an unnamed sample folder or something, right? Right? Wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. You know where it goes? De trash. It goes where Oscar lives, okay? So you got to remember to save your recording buffers. So let's just do a quick example, really super quick. If I have my digatone here and I start sampling, and that's a beautiful masterpiece. And I've surely put in Beethoven to shame. And let me just trim here so we can just get right to the meat of it all. Right? Okay, I have that. I'm going to start sequencing it. This is awful. Yeah. So that sounds great. And I love it. And I'm really attached to it now. And I'm calling it every night. And I'm like, what's up, baby? I miss you. I just maybe you don't love me the way I love you. And it's going to leave me. And I'm going to eat a lot of ice cream and pizza and, exist with my hands tucked into my pants. It's a really bad image. But that's just how strongly I feel about this. It's not saved yet. If I happen to turn off my Octatrack, whoops. If that happens, if you don't save your sample and you turn off your Octatrack by accident, or on purpose because you're just done, and you come back, it's gone. It will have left you. So To save your recording buffers, it's actually really simple. All you got to do, go to your audio editor, hit the FX2 button here, which will take you to the File submenu. Scroll down, hit Save and Assign Sample. You can name it whatever you like. I like to assign to free flex because if you assign to self, it's going to overwrite the recording buffer and then you don't have access to it anymore and you have to clear it to get to it again. It's just a whole thing. If you assign it to a free flex or a free static track, it's just going to assign it to the next available sample slot for you. And I think that's just the most intuitive and the easiest way to go about it. So that's what I do. I assign to flex 2. I come down here to flex 2. There it is. It says there's an error, but don't worry about it. The reason it says there's an error is that there's no audio there. There would be audio there. Don't worry about it. You're worrying about it. I can smell it on you. It's okay. I'm here for you. That's thing number 1. And number 2 is sort of similar, and it might even be easier to do to yourself if you don't know what you're doing. And that is changing samples that are assigned to your tracks without changing parts. Now, what do I mean by this? If I have this pattern here, I got a kick drum here, I have a snare drum on track 2, and this is great, and it's going to revolutionize the music scene, and we all feel very good about it. I might come to a point where I want to go to pattern 2. So let's say I'm just going to copy this pattern, go to pattern 2, paste it over. Now we're in pattern 2 and I got this new thing. Let's say I go to pattern 2 and I say, you know what, in pattern 2, I don't want a snare anymore. I want to have a tom, and it's going to sound like this. And I'm going to sequence it like this. There's a little breakdown. Yeah, we love it. Here's the problem. If I go back to pattern 1, it's changed there too. So, what happened? Well, the Octatrack is not like the Digitact, where the patterns kind of exist in their own little boxes, right? The Octatrack uses an architecture called parts. And now parts are kind of a discussion unto themselves, and I have a video that I'll put here that you can watch that really kind of, I think, succinctly explains what they do. But really more or less what they do is they are little things that are attached to patterns. Each pattern is assigned to a part. By default, it's all part 1. And what parts do basically is hold information for patterns to reference. Sequences are just raw data. The parts are telling it what to play. So in this instance, it's telling it, I want you to play this tom sample. And if I go to pattern 2 and I don't switch parts, if I don't tell it, hey, we're moving to a new capsule for you to reference to play this snare sample or vice versa, it's not going to know to do that. So basically, if I make a change to a pattern that is in part 1, it's going to happen to every pattern that is using part 1, which in this case is every pattern. So the basic thing is that if you want to make a change to a sample that is on the same track, if you need to swap out a sample for something, and you need that to not happen to every prior pattern or every future pattern that is using that part, you just got to change parts. Just got to go over to part 2, click, hey, I'm in part 2. Now any changes I make, like look, I'll change all the machine types to through machines and neighbors and pickups, and I'll make this one a through. All right, so I got T and PT, right? Look at that right there. If I go back to pattern 2, it's all flex and statics. These are different parts, part 2, part 2, part 1, part 1. So there are different nodes that are holding different information for your sequencers to reference. So that's kind of a complicated one. I hope that I kept you there. But if you don't understand exactly what I meant, like I said, go watch the parts videos because understanding parts is a really crucial thing. I would say that is maybe even like a secret part 3 of this video is if you don't know what parts do, you're going to fuck some things up on your Octatrack. So part 2 is changing something without changing the part. And part 2B of that is not knowing what parts do because parts are, I think, essential to using the Octatrack effectively. And if you don't know what they do, you are going to get into a spot where, you know, you've made 7 patterns. Think about this. And you change 2 samples to like from kicks and snares to, I don't know, a riser and like a vocal sample. And then you make some like changes to how those are processed. Like you start turning these knobs here, or you start changing machine types or effects. All of that is going to carry over to all your prior patterns, and it's going to completely ruin your project. So don't do that. Learn what parts do. Those are the 2 things that I think are the most immediately obvious project destroying mistakes you can make on the Octatrack. Not saving your recording buffers and not really knowing what parts do. And so you make that mistake where you substitute a sample, make some changes to machine types or to effects parameters. You go back and look, that's going to be on every future pattern. And if I make a change here and I change a machine here, it's going to be on every other pattern. So you have to change parts if you want to make changes like that. So yeah, go watch the parts videos and fucking educate yourself, dude. So that's all I got for you today. I think this video was essential, but it's also kind of weird because the Octatrack is such a confounding machine that you have to know how to use it and how its architecture works before you can even fully understand what someone is talking about when they're telling you to not do certain things, because it's going to ruin your projects and ruin your life. So it's sort of a conundrum where this video is aimed at beginners, but also beginners might not know what the hell I'm talking about. So if you are that person and you're confused, don't worry, we got a lovely community of people. Join my Discord, comment down below. People will help you out. It's really, Elektron users are some of the most generous and kind people that I've ever encountered. They all have giant titties and big dicks, and they're just the fucking hoggest, chattest people I know. So yeah, just ask for help and they'll help you out. And me too, also. I will be back next week with another video. It will be just like this because I don't ever want to do a list video again. I got like 20 minutes into editing the last one and I wanted to kill myself. Have you ever listened to yourself talk constantly with no break for multiple weeks at a time? If you are like me and you don't exactly love yourself, it can be a little bit of a strenuous process. So we're going to get back to the music, back to the jams, back to the vibes. And I hope you'll be there. I hope you'll join us for it. Because I love you all very much, and I love getting to have this little community. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers, by the way. Hype for that. Have to do some sort of special. Maybe Octomom and I will do a Dig Attack video or some such. I don't know. In any case, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me this week, because you could have picked anybody on the internet to take a sit down with, and instead, you chose me, a man who talks too fast, has greasy hair, and has a nose ring. For some reason. I got it when I was younger and sexier. But now, I'm like a dad. A dad with a nose ring? I don't know. Maybe that ruins my ethos, but I don't care. I'm going to do it. I'm going to wear it. It would be too much work to take it out. I think that's really cool. Thanks for hanging out with me. Because I feel so lucky to have this, and I feel so lucky to have you. I will see you next week. And until then, I'm Daniel. This is The Messy Desk. And I love you more than I love water, God's greatest creation. Thank you, God, for water and for pizza. I will see you next week.